Heading into 2023, the New York Yankees roster is coming to shape, and there are a lot of big names on it. However, there are going to be some names who fly under the radar who will be very important to the Yankees' success. We did this for the Red Sox earlier in the week. We're going to do it right now for the Yankees. We're going to cover the Yankees' unsung heroes for 2023. So let's not waste any time. My name is Derek. I'm here with John. You're watching Bleacher Brawls, and let's get straight into it. Obviously, having a roster like the Yankees, there are a lot of big names, and there are names that are set to, slip through the cracks on a national stage, and even on a Yankees fan, even when it comes to Yankees fans, there are names that'll slip through the cracks. So we're going to cover it. I'll go over to John first, and I'll let him go. Who is your unsung hero for the Yankees in 2023?
Derek, you said it perfectly, where it's really hard. They have a lot of big names. It's hard for guys to fly under the radar on the Yankees. So there are smaller name guys, but there's a guy who's a bit of a big name for Yankees fans anyway. But I think he's a guy that fans aren't expecting much out of this year, and I'm expecting big, big things. That's DJ LeMahieu. Look, DJ LeMahieu, the first 2 years as a Yankee, this guy was an MVP candidate. And I know he's had some injury problems the past couple of years, but I think all in all, bad luck. If this guy can stay healthy, he's going to be huge for the Yankees. I know we saw a dip in his numbers the past 2 years, but that's why I think a lot of Yankees fans are kind of forgetting that DJ LeMahieu even exists. Or they're not really factoring him in, or they're writing him off and saying, oh, he's too old. I don't believe any of that. I think DJ LeMahieu is going to come back this season fully healthy and just be electric for the Yankees and just be the DJ LeMahieu that we're used to seeing. Hopefully the leadoff hitter, DJ LeMahieu, that we're used to seeing.
Yeah, I think LeMahieu is so important for this Yankees team, and I've said it. I think I've said it before. Cass and I talked about it. We're going to be doing a team profile series covering all their teams, and Cass and I were on the Yankees video, and we talked about it, and I said, there's a lot of power in this lineup. A guy like DJ LeMahieu is going to be huge for the Yankees, right? Because he can spray the ball all over the field. And you look at it now when you look at this Yankees team, and like I said, a lot of power, but he can spray the ball over the field. He brings something different to the table, and I think that's huge because you saw, especially in the playoffs, and you saw DJ LeMahieu not being there because he was injured, and it felt like the Yankees team, it was going to be home run or bust in the playoffs, and that's kind of what it was. And having a guy like LeMahieu where he can he can rope it the other way for a base hit, put it in the gap for a double. And now you get a guy on base for Judge and Rizzo and Stanton instead of, having them go up and no one's on. And even if they do hit a home run, it's only one run instead of two or three. So having a guy like LeMahieu, I think he'll play a huge role for the Yankees.
Yeah, you're absolutely right when you mentioned the playoffs. So I think if a healthy DJ LeMahieu, I don't know if the Yankees get past Houston, but it's a lot better of a series than that sweep that we saw. The guy can just be so big for the Yankees, and I just think a lot of fans are writing him off this season. And it was only 2 years ago this guy won a batting title, batting 364, third place in MVP voting, arguably could have been first place. He's DJ LeMahieu, man. DJ, come on, man. We need you to get back to what you were. I hope you're healthy. One of the things that I love about LeMahieu, I'll mention it real quick, is a couple years ago, I remember some Yankees, I'm not really on any social media, but I came across a picture that I get to see a bunch of Yankees took on the team plane and they posted it on some social media site. And it's like a group of Yankees, all smiling, hanging out, which is cool. But then you see DJ LeMahieu from behind, earphones on, looking at a laptop, studying video, just oblivious to everything else going on, just focused in on baseball. And that's why I have faith that I don't think LeMahieu's injuries have kind of been a bit more freak injuries than they seem to be recurring injuries. And because of that, I have a lot of faith that he can stay healthy this year and be what we need him to be and what we've seen him be in the past.
Yeah, and he's also a guy who can play multiple different positions, right? You don't want him moving all over the place, especially with, there is a little bit of injury risk, and, you want to keep him healthy too because he has had his injuries the last couple seasons. So you don't want to just be moving around first, second, third, all over the place all the time. But if the Yankees, they're not going to stay perfectly healthy throughout a season. So if, let's say Gleyber Torres is playing second, he goes down, LeMahieu can step in, or Josh Johnson's probably going to be the starting third baseman, it seems. He gets injured, LeMahieu can step in. Maybe LeMahieu starts third base. I don't know how the Yankees are going to play. I don't think anyone fully knows how they're going to play in their infield. But like if Rizzo gets injured, LeMahieu can step into first base and play there when needed. He can DH and maybe Stanton takes the game in left field now and then. Although I don't know how much that'll happen, but I just having that versatility. Although yes, you don't want him playing and just moving positions every single game and moving all over the place. But it does help having that little bit of versatility where if you need to put him at first base for a couple weeks or at third base for a couple weeks, it's not necessarily ideal, but you can do it.
Yeah, exactly. And I do think you're right. What are the odds that Josh Donaldson stays healthy for a full season again? Like, I mean, this guy's had so many injury problems, and the Yankees get him. You're like, okay, like you're figuring 60 games, and you'll never hear from him again. And somehow he manages to stay healthy all season, and I don't know how that happened.
That's such a Yankees thing. It would have it. It's so funny because I remember when they traded for Donaldson. I'm looking at it and I'm like, you just traded Urshela and you're gonna play Donaldson at third. I'm like, yeah, you're gonna get a whole year of Donaldson. Have fun. And Yankees got a whole year of Donaldson. And I don't know if it was what the Yankees front office expected, but I think it's what most people expected out of Donaldson. They're not expecting him to hit 30 home runs anymore. I think LeMahieu, like the only thing with LeMahieu playing third base is I don't know if they want to do it just because of keeping him healthy, and that's why I think it was a chance he ends up in more of like a utility role. I don't want to say utility role because that could be Oswaldo Cabrera, based on what they're saying. But I think you see LeMahieu kind of fitting in. Maybe he gets second base. I don't know. But then where does that leave Clay Torres? There's just kind of so many question marks in the infield right now. It's kind of hard to figure out. But LeMahieu should have a big role. Moving on to me, because I have a guy I'm really excited about from a Yankees perspective. I'm not excited about him as the Red Sox fan of me is not excited about him. I want to talk about Ron Marinaccio here because the Yankees, they only have one lefty in their bullpen in Wandy Peralta. And you start looking and it goes, only one lefty, like that could be a little troublesome, especially, against, the Yankees' biggest rivals, the Red Sox. You look at their lineup and it's lefty, lefty, lefty. It feels like there's all lefties. So you look at a guy like Ron Marinaccio, there you can make the argument. Maybe the reason the Yankees don't have two lefties in the bullpen is because they like Marinaccio enough and they like him against lefties. You look at his splits against lefties. His WOBA was against was 224. That was top 30 in the league, for all pitchers, starters or relievers, and that was right there with a guy like a James Karinchak, for WOBA against lefties. And Karinchak also is better against lefties than righties as a right-handed reliever. You look at him. We'll talk about FIP a little bit. His FIP for the season was 320. FIP, and we're going to use FIP because it considers walks, home runs, and strikeouts. The only thing pitchers in effect. ERA with splits can get a little bit weird based on because if a lefty drives a guy in, but the guy who drove in was a righty and didn't. It can get weird and get funky. So his FIP against lefties was 263. His FIP against righties is 395. His expected FIP against lefties was 353. Against righties was 475. So much better against lefties than he was against righties. I think that's huge for him and huge for the Yankees because I could see him getting high leverage spots against lefties. Especially too, Wandy Peralta, he can't pitch him 162 games. He needs his off days. He's not going to pitch every game, obviously. So having another guy like Marinaccio who can be used, not like a lefty specialist because he'll still face his fair share of righties, but you use them in terms of you need to get a couple lefties out. There's two lefties due up in the inning. You can use him because he is better against lefties. I think that's huge. Against lefties too. Here's the big thing that I saw though. His walks per 9 against right-handed hitters was 6.63. His walks per 9 against left-handed hitters was down to 3.6. That's 3 walk per 9 difference. It was a 5% walk rate difference against lefties, which is huge. The strikeouts are down a tad bit, but his strikeout to walk ratio was 2.9 against lefties compared to only 1.9 against righties. So all the numbers back it up. He's definitely better against lefties, at least last year he was. And I think that's why the Yankees, when they look at it, they go, we don't necessarily need another lefty. We have a pseudo lefty in Ron Marinaccio because he pitches against lefties better.
Yeah, I mean, I love the kid, and he's a local kid too. Tom's River, New Jersey. So, I mean, Yankee fans are really behind him. He's grew up a Yankees fan, and he's living the dream. And he is living the dream because he's contributing to the team. He's not some mop-up guy. Like you said, he's basically going to be the second lefty out of the pen. Or really the only other lefty out of the pen is the right-handed lefty anyway. Yeah, I mean, I was looking at stats too, and he basically had, let's see, 88 plate appearances against right-handed hitters, 93 against left-handed. So we're looking at some pretty even stats. And yeah, less extra. No, that's actually not true. I was going to say less extra base hits, but that's actually tied. But either way, 146 against lefties, 152 against righties. I mean, he really had a good season last year. And I think he's just one of those guys that's going to come out of the bullpen, like you said, and just be good. Like, I mean, the Yankees have done a really good job for all the crap I give Brian Cashman. Great job developing arms out of the bullpen. And I think Marinaccio is just going to be another one of those guys that you can really rely on.
Yeah, 100%. And I think here's the thing with Marinaccio I want to touch on. You look at just his normal pitch mix, throws his fastball 44% of the time, his changeup 38% of the time, and his slider 18% of the time. But that doesn't tell the full story, right? Because he faced both lefties and righties, obviously. However, you look at it and when he faces lefties, his pitch mix, 48% changeup, 48% fastball, it only ends up being about just under 3% slider. So obviously he's not using that slider much against lefties, he's using it more against righties, but that fastball changeup combo from him has been deadly against lefties. His changeup, you could argue it is his best pitch, and not being able to use it as much against righties does hurt him. He still uses it against righties, just not as much. It's only like 24% used against righties compared to 48% against lefties. So being able to use that changeup more is big for him, and that changeup pitch was stellar for him last year. I think the whiff rate was near 40% actually against it. It was, let me check. Yep, his whiff rate was 41% on the changeup last year.
Yeah, I mean, dude, the kid's electric. I mean, like you said, that changeup was just a great pitch that he can get by on. And again, like you said, racked up a lot of strikeouts on it. I'm looking forward to watching him, and I do think, like, you're absolutely right. He's going to be a big part of this team.
Yeah, actually, because I'm looking at it right now, against lefties, his changeup, the whiff rate was 36% and the put away rate was 31%. Batting average against the changeup was the batting average and slugging against the changeup was 196 and 304 against lefties. Expected batting average was 147, so about 50 points lower than the actual batting average. Expected slugging was 225, about 80 points lower than the actual slugging. And his xWOBA on the changeup was 183. And then even like the batting average on his fastball against lefties hit 057 off his fastball with the 057 slugging. Obviously, the expected numbers were a little bit higher than that, but for that, those numbers against lefties are outrageous compared to against righties. His fastball was 235 average against 471 slugging against. The slider was solid against righties. I mean, 208 average against only 292 slugging. And the expected numbers were a lot better. But even his changeup was good against righties. He just didn't use it as much. So there's definitely is a big advantage for him against lefties because the changeup is so lethal, and the fastball does play better against lefties too. Doesn't use the slider much against lefties. It still works against righties, so he's still capable against righties. But yeah, that's the big thing. He will get lefties out, and he can still get righties out if you need him to.
Yeah, definitely. And before we wrap it up, I did want to give a shout out to Michael King because he was an honorable mention on my list. And I'm expecting big things. Another potential unsung hero being Aaron Hicks. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, I would have done Michael King, but I felt like he was a little bit too big of a name for Yankees because he was essentially their best. I thought he was their best reliever last year, but up until he got injured. So I felt like it kind of wasn't fair to use him because it's like he was the best reliever last year. So I didn't feel it made sense. So I went with Marinaccio instead. But yeah, DJ LeMahieu, Ron Marinaccio, the Yankees 2023 potential unsung heroes. That's what we are going with. Any final thoughts before we wrap this thing up?
I'm really looking forward to us both being right and these guys having huge years.
Yes, as long as it's not against the Red Sox or they just don't play against the Red Sox, I'm cool with it. All right. But yeah, that's a great place to wrap it up. Yankees fans, let us know your thoughts in the comments on both these guys. Who do you think will be the Yankees unsung heroes for 2023? Let us know in the comments. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you're notified whenever we post. Check out all our links in the description, the Bleacher Brawls website, podcast, Instagram, and Twitter, plus all the crew stores. Check all that stuff out. We got a big spring training lead up to the regular season coming. We're doing 40 videos in 40 days, starting on February 20th. So stay tuned for that. We're going to be doing team profiles for all 30 teams. We're going to start our prospect pipeline series, and we'll have a couple other things in there as well. So stay tuned for that. For John, my name is Derek. Thanks for tuning in to Bleacher Brawls, and we'll see you next time.